as a post-holiday treat, Marvel Animation dropped its first look at Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, premiering in January. The short teaser trailer gives us a good look at the Hudson Thames-voiced Peter Parker and a glimpse at Norman Osborn, who is voiced by Colman Domingo. Other voice talent for the show features Hugh Dancy, Charlie Cox, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Are our spider senses tingling?
They are tingling a little bit. Yeah, it was a very solid trailer, and the timing makes a lot of sense. Not only did we have the final episode of What If air today, but we are 1 month away from the premiere of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It premieres on January 29th. So, yeah, makes sense. And I thought it was a good first look. We had seen little scenes here and there in some of the sizzle reels that we've talked about on this show, but the standout for me continues to be the animation. That being said, it does appear, based on this trailer, that it is going to be completely separate from Tom Holland's version of the character, which, we speculated about. It seemed like initially it was going to be tied and be that freshman year for that character, but it just does not seem like that's the case anymore. And it also, we've talked a little bit about Spider-Man 4 and what kind of story they wanted to tell there, whether it was going to be street level or multiversal, and where it sounds like they have decided to go multiversal. Here, it seems like it is very much committed to telling a very true to its name, or its title there, Friendly Neighborhood title. It's going to be a decidedly smaller street level story. So, all that being said, I did want to take the opportunity while we're talking about Spidey. This did not make the doc officially, but we do have a rumor from one of our more fairly reputable sources here in Daniel RPK, aka Daniel Reitman, and he's put out some claims surrounding the Spider-Man 4 script. And based on his claims, it sounds like Kevin Feige is kind of the one that says he's not happy with the script where it's at right now. And Tom Holland has already come out and said that he is happy with the script. So it's I find it, if this is all true, take this all with a grain of salt, but he does have a pretty good track record, Daniel RPK. I find it very, very interesting that Kevin Feige has stepped in to have such a hands-on role for this movie specifically. So a lot to unpack here, but I'm interested to hear what everybody else thought about this trailer.
I liked that it looked like old school Spider-Man, the old cartoon version, but it was also current. Like, they somehow married those two worlds. Like, Peter Parker looks straight out of the 60s somehow, but he also fits right in this world that they've created. And a couple of the other characters are like that too. And Norman Osborn is like straight out of the pages of comics with that crazy hair and stuff. That's exactly how he's drawn in the comics. It's really funny. So I thought it was a good little mashup, and it looks cute and it looks fun. I don't really know the entire story they're trying to tell from this trailer, but I agree with Scotty that it looks like it's just Peter doing, low-key spider stuff and then getting discovered by Norman, and it's kind of the inverse of Tony helping him in Civil War, where you've got Norman stepping in, giving him a suit. That's not going to go well, so that's kind of what we have to go on, and it looks fun. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, even the way it started, it was like in a comic shop, like zooming out over top of comics, and then as the animation style starts to hit, you can tell that the animation style does mirror a comic drawing style, probably intentionally, and even the way that like the words come across the screen and everything like that. It's kind of got that. It's very different than Spider-Verse, but Spider-Verse is kind of the template of that. Like, how do you adapt a comic book directly to screen? And this kind of has the same sort of feel of trying to mirror that. But then, Haley, you mentioned like bringing it into the modern day. There's still all these shots of the characters live streaming and posting Spider-Man to social media as he's fighting people and things like that. And so it's got that cool kind of integration into today's world. And Miss Marvel explored that idea a little bit of like superheroes in this kind of teenage role, and like how do you balance that? It's always been part of Spider-Man, obviously, but seeing that kind of married into our modern world, it is different than it used to be like when we were growing up. And how would you balance being a teenager with being a superhero? It's changed a little bit. And so it seems like this show is making some steps to try to tell that side of the story. And I did see some quotes going around today from Brad Winderbaum. He's the head of Marvel Animation. We talk about him a lot because he's done a lot of interviews in recent years talking about especially X-Men 97 and What If, and he talked about this, and they asked him about the canonization of it. Is it MCU? And he seemed to confirm, and it was an old interview, I don't remember where it came from exactly, but he did seem to confirm that this was not MCU, which we've leaned towards, and we've talked about that. Like, it does not seem to be going in that direction with the way that the characters are shaping up. And he all but confirmed, the trailer all but confirms it, but he also all but confirmed it by saying that I think originally that was the idea, that was the hatched idea when this was first announced, was that this would be MCU. This would be Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It would be him as an origin story in the MCU. But then as time went on and they started to write the scripts and the episodes, they just were limited. I think the way he said it is the story that they wanted to tell was limited by the canonization, that if they were going to put it in the MCU, they could not explore certain things. There were certain characters they wanted to use that they felt like they should use in the story they wanted, but they wouldn't be able to use. And it just became so limiting that they decided that, you know what, let's just tell the story. Let's kind of do what we did with X-Men 97. Like, let's just carve out our own little corner. It's not MCU. It's not, we don't have to connect to anything. It doesn't have to be, we don't even have to be like, this is a multiverse. It can just be its own story. And if it's good, people will watch it. And I think that's a good call. I mean, trying to kind of fit those cracks and crevices and be like, this is MCU, like it or not, but like limit your creativity doesn't really seem like a path to success. So the idea that they're excited about it enough to go, you know what, no, this is not canon, that's good to me. That's a good sign.
Yeah, it shows they have faith in the property and that they're aiming to make it stand on its own 2 feet. I was just being reminded reading the story that the fact that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are coming back as Daredevil and Fisk, and that's just kind of funny to me. It feels like through nothing but sheer good work that they did in that Daredevil series, they have made themselves sort of indispensable. Like, even though this is not MCU, it's like, if you want to have Daredevil and Kingpin, and you want to have, especially since it's not MCU, if you want to get us excited for it, put Charlie Cox and Fisk in this thing. And I like, especially now that it's not MCU, I'm less interested. I'm like, it'll be Marvel Animation, will be fine, but I'm less, there's just less connective tissue, like, so it's less exciting for me. But knowing that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are there makes me really pumped. And interesting to see that Colman Domingo is playing Norman Osborn too, and getting a shot of that character. It makes me wonder if they could. We know that Colman Domingo supposedly, I think it was a leak or a rumor last week that he's having meetings, or he confirmed it maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah, that he's had some kind of like an open invitation to Marvel, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not sure who he's playing yet. I mean, it's given that we've got these other two from the universe, like, it could be that he could play in both sandboxes. They could bring him over to live action Norman Osborn. That could be interesting. We have seen Norman Osborn in that universe from a different universe, but we haven't seen Norman from this universe yet.
Yeah, Jay, you mentioned X-Men 97 in terms of like this show being able to kind of do its own thing. And I did want to mention, like, one of the very first things we see is like from the studio that brought you X-Men 97. So they really are, banking on that goodwill. And as much as X-Men 97 was such it was a straight up sequel to that original animated series, as different as this series looks to be, I felt like, Haley, to your point, like with the visuals there hearkening to not only like the 1960s comics, and just, it kind of looked like it was steeped in the 60s, but I can't remember who brought it up, but we do get to see like the technology, like, become more modern as we go on. But the one thing that didn't get brought up is I felt like the music did that as well. Like the music clearly like was an homage to that 90s animated series, which I think like that's what I was trying to bring up there. Even though it looks very different, I do think it's harkening back and wanting to tap into what people loved about that series, which, you did have the Fantastic Four pop up as the show went on. It expanded and introduced the Spider-Verse and things like that, but it was very much its own thing, which I think that's what they're doing here. But yeah, that's initially that's Spider-Man, but then going into more of like the hip hop overtures. So Across the Spider-Verse and those films were brought up. Not only are they trying to, mimic some of that visualization there, I think they're trying to do it with the music as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
I have a dumb question, and I know it's dumb, and I'm going to sound dumb asking it, but does Sony only have the exclusive rights to live action
Yes.
I
Spider-Man?
believe so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's dumb, but I figure if I have the question, somebody else probably does too.
And video games too. Yeah, live action.
Okay.
Video
Live
games.
action and video games. Okay. Because I know that Marvel's done other Spider-Man properties, or that Disney has, so it's kind of like, I just couldn't remember. So thanks.
Video games get a little more murky though, too, right? Because Spider-Man pops up in like Ultimate Alliance and stuff like that pretty regularly.
Yeah, I get out of knowing details pretty fast
Sure,
on that. But the kind of the most popular, IP of Spider-Man in video games have been those Sony PlayStation games
Absolutely.
that have been made with Miles Morales and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And those are exclusive Sony games.
Yeah, and I wonder if they have the exclusive movie rights to Spider-Man in animation and maybe not the exclusive TV animation rights.
I think that is right because of Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously Spider-Verse, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's all kinds of little caveats to those contracts now because Marvel and Disney making as much content as they want to have as much access to as many of their characters as they can.
This treatment that Marvel Animation is starting to give its properties makes me think of DC and the way their animated properties have been in the past, where it doesn't matter that those aren't connected to each other or to something, or if they are, it's just like these are animated, so they kind of live in their own animated Elseworld, and that's worked really well for DC. So if that's something Marvel's taking a page out of their comic book from, I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You just watched a clip from Multiverse News. If you liked it, go to our channel. We got a whole episode that it comes from. So go check that out and hit the like and subscribe. And we got lots of clips you'll enjoy, but also full hour-long episodes of Multiverse News with lots of things that don't even make it to clips. So check us out.
You stay clippy.